The, the subject of today's talk is India, Apple, and the reality of global manufacturing shifts. This is in the context of some comments in the newspapers and in the media, social media, that with China being whacked by massive tariffs by Trump's Liberation Day and tariffs, India is in a great position because they say manufacturing will shift to India. This is not the truth. I said earlier, the reality of global manufacturing shifts. Now, Vietnam and South Korea, which are in the forefront of what is called China Plus, manufacturing away from China, that kind of thing. That kind of strategic shift was in the making for a number of years. And both Vietnam and South Korea have reached this stage where they can say they are a China plus manufacturing base. Not as much as China, definitely, but something that can be comparable to China. That took more than 2 decades for both China, both South Korea and Vietnam. This is the kind of time required for shifting for manufacturing base. This is the reality. And therefore, all this talk about shifting of Apple production and manufacturing to India is a bit of shallow thinking. Now, what is happening in India is this. About less than 20%, about 20%, let us say, of assembling is being done in near Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, and a little in Karnataka too. So it is assembling and not manufacturing. Almost 100% of the components are still imported from China. And the value addition in this facility, in this Indian facility, is less than 10%. This is the reality. Similar assembling arrangements are being developed in locations such as Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, all within the strategy of having assembly facilities in Southeast Asia, manufacturing in China, assembly facilities in Southeast Asia. It makes sense because more than 55% of the iPhone market, the buyers are not in America, but in Asia, in this area, 55%. Therefore, it makes sense to be nearer the geography of the sales. That is how it is. Now, just look at this, at the size, enormous size of the facilities that are there in China. And in your mind, you can picture to yourself when we can perhaps reach that kind of stage, if at all. There are three centers, big centers of Foxconn in China. One is at Zhengzhou. He said H-E-N-G, he said H-O-U. There, that's called an iPhone city locally. It's called iPhone city. There, 300,000 plus workers work there for that facility, Foxconn facility. There are the other two centers, Shenzhen and Guangzhou. All of them are working on this Apple manufacturing and components. China is in absolute control of the supply chain and all those components. And remember, components will be around 1,600, above 1,600 components that go into the iPhone. All those components are all within about 5 miles to 20 miles radius of these people. Therefore, there is no lag. There is absolutely no delay. Everything goes, like clockwork. That is the beauty of the complete control of the supply chains. And the suppliers of components, so much variety and sophistication, they do a good job of that. They're tremendous. It's a closely knit thing. The core chips, the displays, the camera modules, the batteries, the connectors, the sensors, the housing, all these things within a radius of about 5 to 20 miles. Without this, nothing is possible. And therefore, those who think of India becoming another center of manufacturing must understand that we should have a supply chain development, which means infrastructure, which means that they have to have land, they have to have facilities, which means again they have to get clearances from the government, regulations and so on. So these things take a lot of time, particularly in India. So it's not easy. But I'm painting this picture to show how massive this whole thing is, and yet it goes like clockwork because everything is within their control, supply chain management. So how do we look at what's happening? There is no doubt at all that in due course we will have regional supply chains. And in those regional supply chains, we might be an important link. But all this takes time, effort, and a lot of doing, particularly in infrastructure. So that is the main message, because if India were to reach that level, even in the expansion of assembling to 50%, even assembling, scaling up to 50% or so will require infrastructure, regulatory reforms, and supply chain depth. Without that, that's not possible. So the purpose of this video is done. That just because some announcement of tariffs have been done, immediately something is going to flow. No, it is hard work. And a lot of that hard work is to be done, remains to be done, if at all we are eyeing anything like big scale. For the moment, let it be very clear that what we are doing in Chennai, and a little in Karnataka, is only assembling. That disassembling is only just about 20% of the total assembling volume. We are doing only about 20%. The value addition to this, our value addition, is just about 10%. So we must size it up in those terms, not have some kind of an exaggeration going in our minds, and avoid this kind of shallow thinking. One reason why I am doing this video is it's a time for reasoning based on information. Sadly, none of our papers give any information. Our papers seem to be mimicking the social media, sound bites, headlines without any depth. So, those who are interested in improving their thinking and knowing what is going on intelligently and not be taken away by all these sound bites, a lot of noise, must think. And there is a joy in that, because you know this is all that can be done in the short run, in the short term, and this is the enormity of the tasks that have to be done in the long term. That means responsibility. That means a lot of doing, a lot of hard work.